Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 649. Holy cow, 650, episode 650 coming up tomorrow. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Welcome to the typical later than usual Hobby Evolution, just after 8 a.m. Uh, reviewing the Northern Illinois Card Show, and I'm excited to share my thoughts and observations from yesterday's card show. There's a lot of little things that I want to touch on. I didn't buy any inventory, but I bought Cubs cards. It's been so long since that's happened where I've, you know, gone for pleasure as far as a buying experience than business. But there's kind of a reason for that, which I'll share. Good coffee this morning. So how was your day? How was your weekend? Cooter's with us. Good morning. I trying to think back. We had friends over Friday night with kids, 5-year-old twins. My wife said they're kind of maniacs. She wasn't lying. I'm not used to kids, so it was a full house. Well, 2 5-year-olds, twin boys, rambunctious. Our other friends have a 2-year-old, I guess. Which actually, the 5-year-olds kind of gives me a benchmark for the kids that I interacted with at the card show yesterday, because there was one younger child that was dealing with Matt, my buddy Matt, who sets up at the Madison show. We were right next to each other, and crazy story about this kid. So I want to share that. And it gave me, he was like a legit 5-year-old. And then I thought, wait, the twins that were over Friday night were 5. I think he was a little older than them. So maybe 7. But I mean, he was like significantly under the age of 10. Like I would say 7, maybe even 6, but probably 7. I'm trying to think of where I was at that age. But this kid was on like new as stuff at like 7. It was amazing. So I want to share that story. Scotty Dubs, it was great to see Scott yesterday. Scott filled I think a couple boxes. My bargain box sales, holy moly. Great day as a seller with my bargain boxes. They were a big hit. Sean, what is up? Sean's in the house. Mark Wilkins, good morning to you. Cliff, good morning. Cooter says the best birth control is to take care of someone else's kids. My wife even mentioned that on Friday night. She goes, she told her friend, she goes, thanks for bringing the kids because this is great birth control. They had, so I'll share a story. So they are they have a lot of energy, and I think most kids do. But I think they have more energy than the average kid, and then multiply it because they're twins, and there's that twin energy. So they brought us all outside onto the patio for a talent show. And one of them has like big time energy. And he's like screaming at us, going over the rules of the talent show. We are not to talk and we can't laugh. How can we not laugh when this little 5-year-old drill sergeant is screaming at us to not talk or laugh? So this went on for like 10 minutes. I'll tell you how loud it was. My neighbors next door, not Frank, but my other neighbors who were also hosting, or I think they were just hosting maybe one people. They had a party. They had people over last night. But the husband and wife next door like opened up the screen door because it's not common to hear 5-year-olds screaming in the backyard. In our neighborhood. So like, hey, we're just watching a talent show. So the talent show didn't happen. When we went back inside, I told one of them, I said, hey, that was a great talent show. And he goes, we didn't do the talent show. And I'm like, you didn't do the talent show? No, because everybody was talking. So my apologies to the 5-year-olds. Somebody would have had We always have our phones out, like filming everything. But we didn't film the talent show. I mean, that would have been YouTube gold. Man, now I'm kicking myself. Man, I could have got some good hits on that if I would have like snuck out the, hey, can I can I use your kids for YouTube content? I think they would have been okay with it. DR's in the house. What's up, DR? Good morning, all. I have to watch later today. Would love to hear about the difference in what is moving at shows versus eBay. I get to go to 2 shows in a couple of weeks, first in over 100 days. That is awesome. I've got a nice little run of card shows coming up. Of course, yesterday we're going to review the show in Rockford. And then in 2 weeks is my Madison card show. And I'm after yesterday's success, it's like I've got to find a way to get my bargain boxes to my own show. So reach out to my buddy Scott, say, hey, can you really do it? Can you really come up and run my table for me? Bring your own cards up. Because it was a great day. Football, man. Football was hot. So I'll go into that. And I've got some more. I even left, I think I've got 3 or 4 boxes in there. I know I left my hockey box because the hockey guys came by and I saw them and I'm like, shoot, I didn't bring my hockey boxes. I have them. I just loaded up all the boxes I had. I don't know where my hockey box went. And I specifically made the hockey box for them, for those only 2 people, because they always come around and they're like, hockey. I'm like, no, not today. So I have a hockey box made up. And it's loaded with like Gretzky and, even modern stuff that I don't know anything about. They might find some gold in there. I don't know. Because hockey, NASCAR, and soccer, I just immediately throw in either a bargain box or I'll make like a huge area for Ken for all the NASCAR cards. And I'm like, damn it, I didn't bring my hockey. I took it to Janesville, the Janesville show, 4th of July weekend. So that'll be the show and so it'll be a run. So I had yesterday in Rockford. In 2 weeks, I'll have the Madison card show, and I'm trying to pull some strings so I can get my bargain boxes set up there. I know the promoter, and then the following week is Janesville, the Sunday of Labor Day, September 4th. So I will be set up there, and then the week after is Rockford again, September 10th. So it's a nice little run of card shows, and I'm hoping I can get some inventory. I was actually kind of bummed. Like, I got some great stuff for my own collection, but like I got home last night, and one of my favorite things to do when I return home from a card show is, if I buy a bulk box, I take the bulk box, and whether I stay upstairs after a card show. I think I just, want, like, hey, I was around cards and people all day. It's time to just veg out, even though I'm with cards. Like, I love going through cards after a show. I didn't have that last night. So I listed some stuff. I actually listed some cool stuff, and I sold. I had just in random like collections and probably Craigslist or not Craigslist, Goodwill stuff. I had ticket stubs, and you know how ticket stubs are going crazy. So I found a couple Packers ticket stubs, one from 93 and one from 95. Nothing super significant happened. I think in the 93, Reggie White had 3 sacks in a game. The 95 ticket, Brett Favre had like 4 touchdown passes. That was also the year he won the MVP. I put him up at $50 or best offer just to see, like $50. And I think I probably have them. Yeah, I have them right here. It's ripped. It's a stub. And I had somebody offer me $20. The guy that offered me $20 ended up buying it at full price for $50, because I'm like, it's only been up for an hour. Like, I'm gonna sit on it. And then this one, the same guy put an offer, and I countered him. This is from 95. Favre had 4 touchdown passes. I put up, this is McGuire's 70th home, 69 and 70 home runs in 98. I sold one of these to my buddy Mark. So I've got this one up on eBay, $50 or best offer. This is 1993, Memphis State versus Marquette. Penny Hardaway was on Memphis, and he had 25 points, 15 rebounds at Marquette. That up. I don't know if there's much interest. And then this is Milwaukee Brewers. Ryan Braun hit a home run in this game, his 49th home run. Ryan Braun would be, I think Beckett still does the hot and cold list, but I think Ryan Braun would be like, he's like forever on the cold list. Like since the steroid thing came up, he's probably been on the cold list since. So I don't think putting Ryan Braun in the eBay title will really move the needle on that ticket stub. Let's see. So where are we at in the chat? We've got Scott had a blast yesterday, found 210 great cards from the bargain boxes. That is awesome. Herman in the house. What is up? Zach says, good morning from Georgia. We've got Herman and Zach from Georgia. Good morning, Zach. Cliff says, you guys know the business. I have a question. We have answers. 608 says, hockey. Are you into hockey? I think you had mentioned something in the chat previously about hockey. I've got hockey. And I don't pick hockey, like, because I just don't, I'm not like actively buying, like hockey's basically a throw-in. When I buy bulk, hockey's like a throw-in. So I don't care what it sells for because it's basically at zero cost. I attach zero cost. So if it goes into 25-cent boxes, it's like free money. So that's what I do. I've got a lot of hockey. I don't know what you're looking for, but some of the Goodwill pallets have had a lot of modern stuff. And it's like, at least if it's 90s stuff, I know Wayne Gretzky, but it's junk wax. So, I don't know. There's a lot of like Hall of Fame rookies in the early 90s on hockey, but they're like dollar cards. So they go in the quarter box also. Cliff says it's been a few days now. Have Tatis cards dropped a lot? Tatis cards. Tatis is now number 1 on the cold list. His cards are icy cold. So yeah, his cards have gone down significantly. Morning card hobbyist. Cooter says definitely for the next Dallas show. Very little vintage yesterday. Definitely ready for the next Dallas show. Very little vintage yesterday, so I ended up picking up maybe 75 Modern Giants and Teddy Ballgame cards. Craig in the house, it was great to see you yesterday. I may have some interest in the NASCAR cards moving forward. Let's discuss. You got it. You and Ken. I've got plenty to share with both of you. Let's see. John says 1992 called they want their hoodie. It's the big logo hoodies. Yeah. Go Bad. It's college. We're 2 weeks out from college football season. I was like, I wear the same like 3 hoodies. It's like I need to mix it up. I think Ken even made mention of that. He's like, you wear like 6 shirts, and it's true. It's true. So I'm like, hey, it's high school scrimmages started in Wisconsin on this past Friday. Illinois will have their scrimmages next Friday, and then Wisconsin starts their season next Friday or Thursday in some cases. And then college football in 2 weeks. I'm excited. I got the Bowman U-Wall all nice and dolled up for August 27th. Maybe do a post Madison card show rip party and rip some blasters while I watch some Cupcake take on a top 25 team. So I'm looking forward to that. Cliff says, looks like Jonathan Davis. Let's see. Craig likes the hoodie. A card hobbyist says, I used to love watching Reggie White toss 300-pound tackles aside with one hand. Reggie White was what an awesome player and person. Reggie White. Let's see. 608 says, I like Wisconsin-born hockey players. Stud Boy Sports Cards in the house. Good morning to you. The Faltsy. Brett Favre stole Al Bundy's claim to fame. 4 touchdowns in 1 game. So let's talk card shows, man. What a great day at the card show. And the crowd, first off, this was the best attended Rockford show, in my opinion, just anecdotally, observationally. It seemed like it was the best attended show in several months, since, maybe April. I know May, June, July is always tough. August is tough. I've still got a lot of regulars that, will miss August for various reasons. Baseball's ending, or still playing travel stuff. vacations, various things. So August is still kind of tricky, but it was a nice uptick over the last few months. So the crowd was great, and sometimes that's not good because there's been great crowds. The Janesville show, for example, in July. It was the 4th of July weekend. I was nervous because it's a holiday weekend in the middle of summer for Wisconsin. Like, I know on the calendar, summer starts like June 22nd, but that's not how we roll. Like, summer starts in May, well, early June, and then ends in September, August, September. Anyway, it's like right in the middle of Wisconsin summer, and traffic was awesome, and my sales sucked. I did make some good buys, though. I did make some good buys at the Janesville show. I got some great stuff. I mean, I was disappointed with my sales because I brought all new stuff. Like, the stuff I brought to Janesville had not been in my bargain boxes ever. So I'm like, I've got all new stuff. I'm going to make a killing. And I saw it was like, didn't make any sales. Like, I mean, I did, but it was awful. But I made some great buys. I mean, my buys that I made at the Janesville show, more, 10x, my flip value on my buys at that show, 10x my sales. And that's what you get when your sales are down or the crowd is down. As a dealer, you have more opportunity to go find those buys. And it's much like in this returning to pre-pandemic hobby. It's like, well, now that you're full-time, are you worried because there's less sales? Like, I can keep up sales wise. It's just, I have to put in more work. In February and March of last year, I could throw whatever I wanted on eBay and it sold like in a day. Now it's like, I've got to wait, and I've got to have 5 times the inventory. So I've got to list 5 times the cards to meet my sales from that period, which is okay. I have the inventory. I can do that. And most of it's, paid for from previous collections. So those opportunities when there's a light crowd, light sales, I can walk the room. I can buy bulk boxes. And what did I buy at the I made a killing on the buying end. I bought from Alex's buddy. I forgot his name. But I bought the dollar box outright from him at the start of the show. Then I went over to 5 Stars dollar boxes and pulled that insert. I pulled, some Mac Jones rookies. So I had great flip value there. And then at the very end of the show, I bought a couple dime boxes outright. And yeah, they're all $1.50 free shipping cards on eBay, but 7,000 of them, and I paid $100. So I'm, a penny a card, and I'm netting 40 cents. So I was able to make profit right away on those. And it took me, a few days. Took me a couple weeks because I probably ended up listing out of those 2 boxes 4,000 to 5,000, probably 4,000, probably about half of what I listed out of those boxes, and the rest went into my quarter boxes. And I don't know what I sold. Most people were filling the boxes, so I might have sold another $100. Who knows? Out of those 4,000 cards that I didn't list on eBay. So yesterday's show, the crowd was just awesome. The crowd was awesome. It was like right at 9 o'clock, and I was a little worried. Now I have noticed something, and I've set up at most. I think I've only missed like 2 of the Rockford shows since they started back last May. And what I've noticed is the Rock crowd is a little more late arriving than Madison. Madison, we've got a really early crowd. And sometimes I'll have up to 10 people walking the floor at, an hour before the show starts, 8 or 8:30, and the show officially starts at 9. Not really the case in Rockford. It's, it seems like the peak is like 10 to 11, whereas the peak in Madison is like 8:30 to 10, or 8:30 to 10:30. So we had that rush, and then we had that slow down to the end. But it was still fairly steady to the end. It wasn't like even some of the early shows, and we go back and we rave about the pandemic and the post-pandemic and the craziness in the hobby, but card shows just were not. It was, yeah, you had the Wisconsin Dell show in May of last year, which was just an awesome show. The National and some of the bigger shows. It was crazy. But I look back at, especially my show here in Madison, and those early shows were, just duds compared to now. And the market's flipped. The card show market, like the card shows are on fire, with crowds and activity, but the market is significantly down from last May, June, July. And yeah, it was, we're comparing summer, but even comparing the same months, say May, June, July of the Madison card show to May, June, July. And yes, it was just starting out last year, but you would think it wouldn't be that much of a difference in attendance, crowd activity than what it is. But that's great. I think that's great for the hobby. We're still seeing great attendance and great activity at card shows. And here we are, and we're fighting inflation. We're fighting gas prices, which, hey, they're on the way down. But I'm not going to get into like finance talk and oh my God, doom and gloom, or, oh my God, the hobby, I'm not saying the hobby's like in, going to the stratosphere again. It's not. That was unprecedented. Actually, it was precedented because we saw this in the late 80s, early 90s. But I don't want to get into like the economic outlook and all that crap. But I do lost my train of thought here. But we have all this doom and gloom. But I heard so I by no means anywhere close to being finance expert. But think about like the inflation, where a good sign is the unemployment is still so low. You go by, we're battling inflation, and I'm sure experts can explain this out much better than what I'm trying to. But you see signs on every business, at least here in Madison, Wisconsin, every business I drive past, there's a sign out front, or there's a sign on the billboard, or there's a sign on the door, hiring. The post office, you walk into the Middleton, Wisconsin post office, and there's a huge booth inside the door that the USPS is hiring. So there's tons of jobs. It's not like everybody's unemployed and not making money and battling inflation. So that's all for that. I hate talking about that stuff. Paul, what is up? Says, guy doing the Madison show messed up enough to where personally I wanted to hear, hey, this is a good show 2 to 3 times first before going. I don't understand. I wanted to hear, hey, this is a good show 2 to 3 times first before going. DR says, you let people in early. That word would spread. If you let me in early, I would be early every show. And I do, and I talk about it like until it gets to be a problem, I'm going to allow it until I have multiple dealers say, hey, this is detracting me from setting up. I know some dealers like it. Some dealers do. As long as, as long as nobody has an issue, I don't have an issue. Here's the problem, and Uncle Rich is with us. Here's the issue that is tough to battle the early entries. It's not like we have one to entry. I have 2 floors, and there's multiple entry points. The first floor, the downstairs ballroom, there's only one entry point to that room. However, if it's 8 o'clock and I have dealers set, it's not like I can lock the door because they need that door open to bring their stuff in and out. And I'm not going to police, oh, hey, you're not a vendor, you can't come in yet. It's hard to police that. Upstairs, there's 3 entry points. There's 2 banks of elevators on each side. There's stairways. Heck, you could go up to the 3rd floor, take the elevator to the 3rd floor, and then walk down and get around through the room. It's not easy. There's to the main ballroom. There's two doorways to get into the main ballroom. There's the mezzanine and the hallway. So it's really difficult to monitor that. So that's another reason where it would be tricky. It's not like I can just start a line. Oh, 9 o'clock we'll open the doors because there's too many doors. Let's see. So we talked about that. Uncle Rich in the house. And so, along with that permission, because there's just too many entry points. Rich says people knew that could come in early to my show and it was fine. What was interesting in DFW was the dealer to dealer activity took place late in the show, not at the start of the show. That is interesting. And now that I think about that, that kind of happens at my shows. And I saw that happening in Rockford. I saw, as everybody was tearing down at the end of the show, there was a group of 4 or 5 dealers sitting around and doing some deals, I would imagine. I've seen it happen, many times in my show. In fact, it was right before, it was the show before the National last year. And one of my vendors, Matt and Johnny, who was my co-promoter at the time, they were dealing with a customer, and we were the only 4 in the room at the very end of the show, and there was a several $1,000 deal going down between dealers and one customer at the very end, after the show, an hour after the show ended. So I would think, and now that I think about that, that's kind of the case in Madison, where a lot of the dealer to dealer activity takes place either during the show or after the, because I see a lot of dealers, they have, multiple people, at their table. So one guy can go by and look around and make deals during the show. And then, some deals take place after the show as well. And there's activity before the show also. That was because they took the money they got from collectors and then spent it rather than the other way around. Right. Yep. And that's kind of what I did yesterday. And I didn't wait. It was the end of the show when I made a purchase. Just go along, flow with the chat as I hit my subjects on my notepad. So I had a great day of sales yesterday. I went in with really no intention. Like, I wanted to buy some bulk, buy some inventory. But the Rockford show, typically with the dealers that were set up, some of my guys that I buy from weren't there. So there wasn't really, and like I said, I had a great show selling wise. It was well attended. So I didn't have a chance to really walk the floor. I didn't leave my table. I went to the bathroom back, and I talked to one dealer on my way back. That was at maybe 11 o'clock. And then around 1, I was able to break free and go talk to other dealers. And that's when it's like, I've had a really good show. I'm going to treat myself. Tim, who sets up at my show, sets up at the Rockford show. He's got some great vintage and pre-war. And he had some pre-war T205s, T206, Ramleys, and he had some Ramleys. And I'm like, do you have any Cubs? And so he had like 5 or 6, where you could see the players. And then he had like a small, like maybe another 5 or 6 that he just didn't have room. So they were stacked up. So he opened them up. And the very last one was a Cub, Del Howard. Now it looks like CEO Howard or Geo Howard. So it is Geo. George Howard went by Del. So he played for the Cubs. He was on both the 1907 and 1908 World Series teams. This is a 1909 Ramley. Beautiful set. I didn't really have any interest in these until I think it was the Baseball Card Hall of Fame videos. And I think there was a Ramley on the list. And I'm like, you know what? And I looked, and there's at least a couple Cubs, I think, in this set. And I'm like, so I've had a couple on my watch list on eBay, and they're here's the thing about these pre-war cards. You can find them cheaper at card shows than what you can on eBay. It's very difficult, and I'm speaking from a Cubs standpoint. I find it hard to find pre-war tobacco cards on eBay these days. And when I do, they're more than, it's like I can go to a card show for the price of what it's listed for on eBay. This was the exception. This actually was in my mailbox when I came home yesterday. Thomas Needham. This is from T205, a gold border. So this, and I think I paid like 40 or 50 bucks for this on eBay. By far the cheapest tobacco card. I don't care. I like the character that a beater gives. And this Ramley that I bought yesterday actually is in really nice condition. So I'll probably sub these with 5-star at the next Madison card show. So this is a Ramley Del Howard, just cool cards. Like I love these, and he usually has like the same or similar cards every time, but I just love, I just like I go to his booth just to look at his vintage because I love these pre-war cards. So I treated myself. Sticker price of 140. I said, would you take 120? And he said, well, I would, but I just put these out recently. So they haven't been to too many shows. I'll do 130. So I got it for, 130 bucks, which is a great deal. I would have paid 140 if he was, stuck on that price. I paid 140, no problem. But I got it for 130. So that was my big buy yesterday. And I'll talk about my other buy because I want to talk about kids at card shows. Let's see. Rich says, okay, we talked about that. That's what led me to my Ramley talk. Where are we at? Cooter says, I think collectors are enjoying the softening market and are picking up cards that have come back to their price range, thus keeping the energy up in the hobby. Great point. Great point. Because you know what? What I see, are there overall less people collecting and buying cards? Yeah, than a year ago? Yeah, I think so. But those that are still doing it, it's like they're us. If you're watching this video, you're one of us. One of us. One of us. Because we just love the hobby, and I do it full time. It's a business for me, but I love it. I spent all day. I was up with maybe a slight hangover from having a few spotted cows on Friday night with some friends. So I was a little foggy on Saturday morning. And I spent from what? I was on the road at 6:30, 7 o'clock yesterday morning. I think I got a little later start than normal. So I think 6:45, I think, is when I left my house. 6:45 a.m. I'm on the road, hit Dunkin', get my sandwich and my coffee, drive down to Rockford. I'm with cards until 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And I come home. What do I do as soon as I get home? I talk to my wife. That's the first thing I did. I talked to my wife. And then what did I do? I went downstairs and I got a pile of cards to list on eBay. I just love cards. And it's like, and how cool is that? That you can come home from work all day long. Because, card show, like, this is a business. Like, I'm selling, like, the money I make pays bills. And a little bit goes to buying fun stuff for my collection. But I work all day and I come home, and what do? I work some more because I love it. It's fun. I enjoy it. And that's when I worked in radio. I loved radio, and it didn't pay as well as what I did previously, and it didn't pay as well as what I'm doing now. But I loved it. And it was an extension, like my hobby became an extension of my work, broadcasting. And I would broadcast games I wasn't making money doing it. Like every once in a while I'd get some sponsors. And then in my job, it was, I couldn't wait. I got home from work. I couldn't wait to go play with my cards and sell cards and trade cards and talk about cards. And now it's the same. When I'm finished with work, I can't wait to do it again at 5 p.m. or whatever time. And it just keeps going. And yes, there is a burnout factor. And I talked about that a couple weeks ago, where sometimes you don't want to eat steak every day. Do we all love steak? Probably. Most of us do. And the thought of having a steak dinner every night, it sounds great, but it's not. Like, if you eat steak every night, you're going to get sick of it. Just like cards in our hobby. I love cards, but if I do it day and night, multiple days in a row, you get a little tired of it and you need to step away. And I just need to be a little more cognizant when I approach that line and be like, okay, it's time to break away, go for a bike ride, or just go out, have a beer with a friend, go to a Cubs game, whatever it may be. I need to be more cognizant of, okay, yes, I love this, but if I do this day and night, day in, day out, there's a little burnout factor. So, back to Cooter's point, I think everyone in there is just having fun, whether we do it for a hobby, just a weekend thing, or whether we do it full time as a business. We're all in there. Where last year it was all about the flip and slabs, and there's still some of that. We're gonna try to, I want to go. I mean, that's what we all. I mean, I think most of us do that. Most collectors don't buy only. Yes, and I know there are some that, I just go in and I buy cards, but I think most collectors will sell some cards just so they can buy more cards. I mean, that's what I did up until last October. I sold cards like a business, and I just used that money to buy more cards or an e-bike. So I think most of us are in there. Yeah, there's a little bit of a flip to it, but it's because we enjoy it. It's fun. And I think yeah, there's I know we hear all this doom and go, oh my God, the hobby, how's inflation going to affect gas prices, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, most of us love cards, and this is a hobby. And there's, even for me doing it full time, this is a hobby. This is not going on my expense report. This is personal collection hobby stuff. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Rich says, but if you go to the National, the money is before the show begins or other large shows. And I think probably how that goes, why that happens is because like a National, like there's a day before setup. So like the Nationals doors don't open until 3:00 on Wednesday to like the VIPs, but the dealers are there Tuesday. So a lot of stuff, there's a lot of action on Tuesday because they're already set up and they're just waiting. Where if it's a single day show or even a 2-day show, setup's probably the morning of, like the Madison Card Show in 2 weeks. People are, my dealers are going to be setting up before the show. And then by the time they set up, they don't have time to walk the show floor because it's, up against the 9 a.m. start time. Paul says your early shows had bad attendance because the guy before you had such a bad Madison show. I think there's some truth in that. And I don't want to talk ill of other promoters and other shows, but the Madison Card Show that preceded my Madison Card Show was small. It was in it was only like a 4-hour show. It was limited tables. There was no space to walk around. And I think, and that had gone on for so long that it's like I'm not going to Madison. That show is not good. And so, yes, yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that. So fine. And you just have to, you have to just keep plugging along, and eventually the word gets out, and the word is out that, it's a good show. Rich says, and you have free admission. Absolutely. Gas is down 90 cents by me in the past 50 days. That is good. Steven's Cards, what is up? Good morning to you. The breaks. Good morning. Sipping on some Folgers. Yuck. Thanks for the sub. Question, will table prices at shows go down because of inflation? No, I don't think so. Not at all. I think table prices will stay the same. I think what you'll see is, and just with anything, whether, I think the overall there is a little card show, and I will say there's a little card show fatigue just because they're popping up. Just like we saw with card shows and card shops in the early 90s, the strong will survive. And I think that's what we're going to see with card shows. The small ones that are not well promoted, um, that's where it starts. It's if it's a 20 table show, it might be good, but eventually people won't. It'll be pretty concentrated. People aren't. If it's a small, not well promoted show, people will stop coming. People will stop setting up, and eventually, for the promoter, it's like, well, now I'm losing money. I'm not going to do this show anymore. But I don't see table prices. I don't see any real movement on that. I mean, if anything, would think table prices would go up as the smaller shows start to fizzle out, and now it's maybe one highlighted show a weekend. This show within a 3 to 4 hour drive is the one that everybody wants to go to. The smaller ones, they still may be around, but it's, on a smaller, like, hey, we just do it. It's kind of a more of a trade night type atmosphere than a well-attended card show. Sean says, poor Johnny still had that Tatis helmet. Did I talk? No, because that happened. That news broke on Friday afternoon. So Sean's my buddy Johnny, he was my co-promoter. So he had he had a Fernando Tatis Jr. autographed helmet. And he had that like in the early show, like when we were co-promoting the show last summer. I don't know when he got it, May, June. And he was still I couldn't believe it. He tweeted it out on Friday, like an hour before the news broke. He did sell it, by the way, but I think he sold it for 50% of what he was listing it at. So he did finally get rid of it. I'm like, man, I thought that was gonna go in your coffin. You've had that thing for so long. Herman says, I know when I was there, you still had dealers sitting in the showroom trading with each other an hour and a half after the show ended. Yeah. That does happen. Rich says, I was shocked yesterday to see a fully stocked Walmart with blaster boxes. That is good. And, I think, and I've shared, and I'll just do quickly because I have more thoughts on yesterday's card show. I think a fully stocked, I don't want to see like an untouched card section at Walmart or Target, but I don't want to see an empty one either. I want to see the good stuff gone and, enough of a selection for the kids. You got to keep the kids. So, I like that there's cards out there. I don't want a untouched card section, but I don't want an empty card section. Somewhere in the middle ground, because if we see like nobody's buying, I mean, if there's a full untouched card section, that means nobody's buying cards. If you see an empty card section, I think that meant like 2 or 3 people were buying all of the cards. And so random, like guys, like I stopped going to Target and Walmart for several months because there was never anything on the shelf. I quit going. So that's bad. Now show that, God, look at how much demand there is for cards. So it's good in a sense, but at the end of the day, it could turn people off. And like, I'm fully into the hobby. I came back and I'll still hit Target and Walmart now. There's not 50 people waiting for whatever release there is. But the people that are on the fringe that, haven't seen a baseball card on the shelf in 6 months, they'll stop looking. And like, I'm not interested anymore. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Craig said, Zach and Porter with us. What is up, Zach and Porter? Starting from the top, have a great day. You as well. Craig says, agree. Busy day yesterday. Very little to no time to walk around the show as a seller. Rich says, bought Topps Heritage, Topps Series 2, Diamond King, Select, and Gypsy Queen. That's a haul. Rich says, funny you mentioned steak because that is what I had for dinner last night. I didn't even have dinner last night. I stopped at Buffalo Wild Wings and had some Asian zing after the show yesterday. and then came home, and it's like that was at like 3 or 4 o'clock. So I ruined my appetite. I was hoping so they usually have a taco truck outside the Rockford show. The taco truck broke down on the way to the show. So there was no taco truck, and I was actually looking forward to it this time. Last time I'm like, yeah, taco truck, I've got a protein bar, I'll be good. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give the taco truck a whirl. Had a burrito, it was freaking phenomenal. And then I'm like, I'm looking forward to this taco truck. And then John came in. John's one of the promoters in Rockford. Taco truck broke down. I'm like, damn it, I was looking forward to it. So I had a protein bar at like noon. And I'm like, I'll just hit McDonald's, or there's a Wendy's and a Arby's, I think, like just down the street. Their service sucks. Every time I've gone there, one time I just pulled out because I was waiting too long. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try something different. And then I'm like, Buffalo Wild Wings sounds good. And then I just happened to join. I'm like, hey, perfect. It was meant to be. Let's see. Jenny, what is up? Jenny was at a card show yesterday. Also, I'd love to hear her thoughts on the Cambridge, Minnesota card show. Let's see. The breaks. Where am I at? I was selling a lot, mostly cards, $100 on up, and it was so much fun, but got burned out on it. It was exciting to think people were paying for cards I found in some boxes. Right. Especially like the found money. At the height, I had basketball that I was just, most of the basketball I found, I was going to put in like quarter boxes for card shows. And I didn't know the market. And this was when this was probably peak basketball market. Now we're probably in the basement in basketball. And I found a Chris Middleton rookie silver, and I sold it for $300. And I was going to put it in a 25-cent box because I didn't know the basketball market, and I didn't care. It was the collection that I had bought it in was long paid for. And it's like, it's Chris Middleton. He's not even a star. I was pulling the $2 Jordans and letting sit a $300 silver rookie. There's Bradley Beal Prism rookie that sold for like $100. I mean, it was the found money was amazing. The Novak Djokovic, I had like 15 of his rookies. Tennis. I'm like, this is tennis. This is going in the quarter box. And then all of a sudden start hearing buzz about other sports cards. And I look at it, it's $100 card, $1,500, found money, Novak Djokovic. This is amazing. So there was a lot of fun in that hobby peak. Cooter says, I'm looking forward to getting my dupes into TCDB because I would rather trade with collectors than sell. Speaking of TCDB, I had a customer yesterday wearing a TCDB t-shirt. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that website. And, I'm on it, but I'm like actually just I'm going to list here eventually. I keep talking about it. I'm going to. I should have asked his username. I didn't. I failed to get his username, but he was wearing a TCDB trading card database t-shirt, and he ended up buying like 200 cards from me, most of which were Milwaukee Brewers police cards. So, we started talking about the Brewers police cards, and I'm like, yeah, when I buy bulk, I get a ton of this. Like living in Wisconsin, I get a ton of Brewers police cards. Not as many Packers police cards, but Brewers police cards. And it's like, I know there's a market for these oddball cards, but I'm not going to take the time because some of them are a little, different sizes. So I don't list them on eBay, and I don't, scan them in, but put them in my eBay or my quarter boxes. And usually I move, somebody will buy a small stack, but I must have put a whole bunch in. And it was probably from this latest Goodwill pallet. So that might have been, whatever I charged. I can't remember, but he's like, yeah, the small towns are usually the harder to get. He's like, yeah, I found a few small towns. And he's like, I actually found some Capitol Police that I didn't even know existed. I'm like, oh, wow. You probably got a good deal at 25 cents then, or actually probably 15 cents after his discount. Let's see. Jenny says, awesome to Cooter. I'm going to aim to get a ton of cards on TCDB again too. And the more you talk about it, the more it will inspire me. So keep talking about TCDB so I don't drop the ball and just let them sit. Let's see. Jenny says our table fees went up at the local card show because the place is charging more, and that's, I think that's a common case of table fees going up because there's a lot of intricacies that go into setting up a card show, and it's not just picking a date on a calendar. You have to remember, and there was a tweet the other day that I responded to. It's like, and it's the same weekend in my show, and it's like there's 6 card shows, 3 big ones and 3 within a 2-3 hour drive that are good sized shows on the same day. But there's nothing this next coming weekend. But there's more to it than that because they're in several different areas. Is the venue available first off, and then if there are not, how much is the venue? If it's a newer show, the venue price. Like my schedule is made a year plus in advance. My schedule for next year is already booked, and we're in August. So my December date is already locked in for next year. So those dates, and then everybody else, if it's like I'm not gonna. I know when the National is, so it's my show's the Saturday before the National. I tried to avoid and I think I was able to avoid the Chicago Spectacular in both March and November, which I couldn't do that this year. And that was a perfect example of this year's schedule. That if I didn't schedule it the same day as the Chicago Spectacular, there just wouldn't be a Madison card show, and that's not an option. Now, I lose like 6 or 7 dealers to Chicago, but I still have 50, 60 other dealers that'll fill those spots. So, great vendors to that show, but I can't just not have a show for a month. So those are some of the things that you have to deal with in running shows, and a lot. I didn't realize that before I started, promoting a show. Speaking of promoting shows, there's going to be a big 250 table show. It's called the Midwest Premiere in Rockford, and I'll be part of the promotions team, myself and the 2 guys in Rockford, John and Mike. It's going to be October 15th and 16th at the Indoor Sports Center in Rockford, Illinois. 250 tables, and it's a 2-day show, October 15th and 16th. I'll be putting out more details in the next couple days. We put some final touches. We had a conference call on Friday to put some final touches, started advertising at the show yesterday. So that's going to be a good one. Rockford, Illinois, October 15th and 16th, the Midwest Premiere, 250 tables. Let's see. Zach and Porter says fall is coming, cutting the acreage yesterday, and I can already tell the growth. Yeah, I start noticing is like is foliage the right term? When I take the dog for a walk, there's a bean field right behind my house. So when we walk around, there's, when I start seeing grasshoppers and brown weeds, it's like, oh man, summer's coming to an end. Randy says table prices will go up because everything goes up. Gas prices here in Illinois are going up, but it's Illinois. Everything goes up in this corrupt state. Well, gas prices are going down. So that's good. Zach and Porter says rapid. Porter also noticing it is getting darker earlier. All good news. Zach, no, not good news. That means cold weather's coming. I don't want that. And I'll have to wear a hoodie outside. Now it's like I wear a hoodie inside, but when I take the dog for a walk, I have to take it off and put a t-shirt on. The break says, if I had that helmet, I would use it as a bucket to water my pumpkin patch. Cooter says 108 here yesterday, nothing growing. Please send fall our way, Zach. Jenny says also Vikings are going to look dumb today because they're the only game on TV, and whenever they're on national TV, they look like clowns. I came home and I was watching football. The Steelers, whoever they were playing, the Broncos, I can't remember. And I enjoyed it. I was enjoying watching football. Baseball Card Illustrated, what is up, my man? This is a pleasant surprise. I thought you were off until Monday. No siree. Back at it today for the Northern Illinois Card Show review, and then just a little later today than normal, and then tomorrow morning back at the normal time of 7 a.m. And I still haven't even I've talked about a couple things about yesterday's show. Let's see. Where we at? I think I skipped over some. Let's see. Zach and Porter says weather app shows 70s for weeks. Rich says, oh, and someone was buying Chronicles boxes in front of me, which of course did not affect what I purchased. That's good. I love that when you see competition in the Target aisle, in the card section in Target, and then they go for like Pokemon, and it's like, yes, the Bowman U footballs for me. And someone was buying. Just said that. Paige and Dina Bean, good morning to you. Rich says 6 likes and 27 people. Terrible percent. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you, Rich. Let's see. That's less than 20%. Now we're at 9 of 32. Thank you. Hit the like button if you haven't already. It says it was a lot of slab buyers and lookers, a lot of sellers from the buyer's side of the table, a good amount of quarter and dollar box diggers. My non-sport unopened packs were flying at $2 each. Awesome. Non-sport winner. I would be digging through those. So here's my take, my overall observation. Now, it was so busy, and I was so busy, I wasn't able to really talk to many other dealers to get their perspective, where if it's a less crowd or if I'm less busy, I can kind of get a feel for what the show atmosphere is from a general perspective. I'll start inward and go outward. So inward with my sales, amazing. I go in with goals. Okay, I want to make X amount today. I set my goal a little higher than what I had because I had a few different things. Not only did I, and a lot of times I go in and I'm like fighting to get to that goal number. Even if I set it low, it's like the gods know. And so I set that number, and I actually made a range. It's like, okay, X amount is my goal, but if I only get to, here, I'll be okay. So blank to blank. And I nearly doubled the high number. So, and I'm selling quarter cards. I didn't have dollar boxes. Everything was a quarter. Which was, and I do know quarter boxes, bargain boxes have been, with the market dipping here over the last several months, there's been a lot more activity in bargain boxes. I have noticed that. And I thought, going back to the show I did in Green Bay in May, just to offset my costs, it's like, okay, I'm going to make dollar boxes. And I put some of my quarter cards in the dollar boxes. And that was for the thought of, okay, if somebody wants to make an offer, at least, I'm not giving away crazy amount of money, because my dollar boxes aren't dollar cards. They're like $3, $4, $5 cards, or sometimes more. And actually sometimes most of my quarter cards are in the same vicinity. But I made a killing on quarter cards. Now I also brought some supplies. I had the card savers. I don't think I have but I had card savers, 200. I was charging 20, so 10 cents per card saver, box of 200 for $20. And I ended up selling 2 or 3 of those. I had binders from the Goodwill pallets, like the baseball card collector's album. And it's like, you know what? If I saw these, I'd probably buy these for $5. So I brought, I think, 6 or 7. And then after I put them up and I made some nice signs, you may have seen it on Twitter. And I'm like, you know what? This was probably a waste of time. Nobody's going to buy these for $5. I had a guy come up. He bought 2 of them, $5 each, $10. So I still have a few of those, like 5 left, and probably a few more in my storage area that I just need to break out. So I was pleasantly surprised. Everything else, 25-cent cards. I had a ton of fill a box. I almost ran out of boxes. And then I had people like, I have my own box. Can I fill this? And it's like an 800 count box or a 500 count box. And I'm like, yeah, we'll just kind of look at, we'll put the 100 count box up against it, and I'll give you a little more of a discount than what I would on these. So great day from the sales side. Football by far. People were just tearing apart my football boxes in a good way. Football was king. And it's funny, I maybe only had a couple or a few that did multiple sports, because I had a big baseball section, because that's mainly what I do is baseball. And then I had maybe 5 or 6 bargain boxes of football, probably 4 or 5, and then a couple basketball. And I actually did have some activity in the basketball boxes. The soccer box, which soccer was super hot 6 months ago, like no activity. I maybe had 1 or 2 people look at the soccer boxes. Made very little sales out of the soccer. And I had a lot of, like, there's a ton of Prism rookies. There's some, I think, Ben Baller Chrome, Topps Chrome. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in those soccer boxes. And not too many people even looked into those boxes. But football by far got the most activity. So going into my show in Madison, it's looking more and more like I'll make a point. If Scott can't man my table, I'll call my mom. Hopefully my mom can come up if Scott can't to run my tables because, I don't want to miss out, especially August 27th, just ahead of football. If I can, steer up a bunch of football boxes, I think those will be really popular. Something else, as far as my sales went, somebody made mention of it. I think it was Michael says, you're like the only, quarter box guy here. There's other bargain boxes, but they're part of, Steve, who I got the Acuna super short print out of his box. He's got a bunch. He's got like dollar boxes, quarter boxes. He's got a showcase. So he's not just a bargain box. And so I was the only, like, there's the bargain boxes. There's 16 of them. Dig. And I went up to Steve and because I just had a couple brief moments to walk the floor during the show. And I went up, I'm like, hey, do you have any Acunas in your quarter box? So he laughed. And he didn't punch me. He probably laughed and said under his breath, F you. But he didn't punch me. Let's see. So that's from my side of the table, from a bargain box perspective. It was on fire. Jenny said, oh, this is perfect. I'm glad Jenny mentioned this because I did want to mention this and I forgot. Jenny says the vintage quarter box was barely touched. Everyone wants shiny. I had an entire row of those beat up 60s football cards that I did the video of that was in the Goodwill palette. And I'm like, these will probably sell for $1.50 free shipping on eBay. But if I throw them in a quarter box, like it's, I'll make 40 cents if it's a single sale against 25. If I throw them in the quarter box, I thought they would be so popular that I actually estimated how many I had. So I thought somebody would come up and say, hey, can I just take this whole row? And so I came up with a price point for the whole row. I don't think I sold a single card out of that row. I don't even think people looked at it. 60s football cards for 25 cents and even less with a volume discount. I was shocked. You're right. Nobody wanted vintage. And usually I'll get people asking, one person ask, do you have any, how far back do they go? And I'm like, there's probably a few 78s, but most of it's going to be 80s, 90s through today. There's a lot of it's actually skews modern. And he's like, oh, I'm looking for some 76s. And I'm like, yeah, I don't even have, I think I don't have 76 Topps baseball because I hate that design. And so I love 73. I love 74. I love 75. I love 72. When I see bulk, I'll buy it. But that 75 is like my cutoff. 77 on, I'll buy it in bulk, but it's got to be like super cheap. And I just don't see those opportunities. So I think that's a reason, but even like 70, and I like 78. So I'm more apt to buy 78 because I know I can move it and I like it. 76, I just hate the design. So I stay away from it. Jenny says people were trying to trade Tatis slabs left and right. So I don't know. Like, I can't speak to that because I have bargain boxes. And the Pelican cases don't stop my table. If you want, and I know there's a lot of people like talk ish. Is ish still like a word for the SH word? Talk ish on the Pelican cases. If you want Pelican case repellent, just set up quarter boxes, and that will keep them away. Every once in a while, I'll have people, and that'll lead into my next story. I'll have people come up and like, hey, you buying? And I don't get that, so I can't speak to that because I don't get that from a quarter box perspective. I wish people that had bulk would come by, and when I do, they're like, oh, I've got 10 boxes of 88 to 91. It's like, I don't want that. I'll buy bulk, but I don't want that. So I want to talk about kids in Pelican cases. So my buddy Matt, who sets up at the Madison show, he was set up right next to me. That coffee is cold after an hour and 5 minutes. So he had this kid, and I mentioned this at the start of the show, where I thought he was like a legit 5 years old. But we had, our friends have 5-year-old twins that came over Friday night. So I had that benchmark. Okay. They were probably, this kid was a little older than the 5-year-olds. Let's say he was 7. I bet he was 7. I don't know. I don't have kids, so I don't know kid ages. I have a hard time. Like, is he 5 or is he 10? But I bet he was 7. He was older than 5. He was younger than 10. And he came by Matt's table, and he's got I don't think it was a Pelican-like case, and he's got fire. And like, I'm like looking around for like his dad, and he's there. Like, I'm sure, I mean, he had to get there somehow. So dad's around, or mom or dad is around somewhere, but not with him doing this deal, which is amazing to me. So here's another benchmark. So he was older than 5, but he was definitely younger than Porter. And I don't know how old Porter is now, but definitely, a few years younger than Porter, a couple years older. So he was between the age of 5 and whatever Porter is. And I think 7 is probably right there. Anyway, he pulls out and he knows comp. So I wasn't impressed initially because it's like, oh, his dad gave him a line to say, and he's just going up trying to sell cards for dad. That's my initial thought process. And then Matt's like looking through the cards, and the kid, 7 years old, he's like, last one sold like $80. And I'm like, damn, he knew that right off the bat. And Matt looks it up. He's like, yeah, $82 or whatever it was. It was like right in the range. It was like within $5. Like, holy ish. What the hell? A 7-year-old with comps, legit comps, with no like whispering in his ear. This is crazy. And then he pulls out another card, and this was like a $300 card. He's like, yeah, that's around 300. Matt checks the comps. He's in the ballpark. And he did that for like all the cards in the case. Knew him on the top of his head. Wasn't looking at his hand, his palm. There's no stickers on the cards. 7 years old. That was what I was impressed with. They might have been dad's cards, but he knew the comps and he knew them off the top of his head. Even if dad like told him this, and this, and this, and prices on them, he accurately remembered them. So if anything, the kid's got sharp memory for 7 years old. So I was just like floored by this whole thing. And not long after that took place, like maybe 15, 20 minutes, I had about a Porter's age, right around Porter's age. So I'm going to say like 10 to 12. 10 to 12-year-old came up. And he didn't have a Pelican case. He had a Ziploc. He had 2 Ziploc bags. And I'm like, now this is my style. Ziploc bags. But he had some good stuff. And the first card I saw was this Javi Baez, numbered to 125. Because it's like, when people bring cards up, they're like, are you buying? It's like, probably not. Because I don't want to take the time to comp and like negotiate. Like, but I'm like, if you have Cubs, I'll look. Give me a price and I'll see. And he's like, this comp's at around $2. I'm like, okay, so he's given me like, I would pay $2 for that. Not even, no, it's numbered to 125. I'll pay $2 for that all day. It's Javi. He's my guy, even though he sucks now in Detroit. Then I found a Brennan Davis Bowman paper, numbered to 99. I love Brennan Davis. He's my guy too. He's battling some back injuries. Then there's a Kevin Alcantara Speckle, number to 299 out of this year's Bowman. I'm like, hey, that's a cool card. And then I pulled out this, and this is kind of the winner. Christian Hernandez, purple chrome, number to 250. What's even cooler about this card is my friend Rich was the photographer, took that photo, and Topps bought it from him. So and I forgot about that until he replied to my comment. He's like, I like all of them, but I like the top left the best. And that's because he took the photo. So I'm like, what would you do for these 4? And so he's like, and this kid also, he did look up the hobby. He looked the comp up on that, but these 3, the Alcantara, Davis, and Hernandez, he's like, the Hernandez last one did like 10, Alcantara like 10, and I think Davis 5. And he's like, so comps are 27, I'll do 20. And I'm like, 20? Like, it's a kid. He's got Ziploc bags, not a case. I'll do 20. And so Matt was standing next to me still, and he's like, so you got a soft spot for kids too? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're good cards, and I think they're pretty legit. He's not ripping me off. I'm not ripping him off. I think it's a fair deal. So I looked at comp. I didn't look at the hobby, but it's like that was his price. Hernandez is kind of all over the board, but one of the recent sold for like 12. I think the Davis was in the 5 to 10 area. Again, comps were kind of all over the place. And I think Alcantara was a little under 10. He said 10, and I think they were like around 8. But all in all, $20. Good. I got a good deal, and I helped a kid out. So that was fun. So those are what I bought. I bought those. And then if you didn't join me earlier, at the end of the day, I had a good day. So I went and bought this Ramley of Del Howard, 1909. So I'm going to send that to SGC. And then when I got home, my eBay purchase was in the mail. Tom Needham from T205 Gold Border. So only came home with 6 Cubs cards. But they're good ones. They're good ones. They aren't 88 Donruss. Let's see. And Jenny says people are trying to trade Tatis slabs. I didn't. And again, I don't have people coming up with slabs because I've got quarter cards. So, and I didn't talk to many people about like their day, like just, hey, how'd you do? Oh, I did okay. Like, okay is like this general term for how dealers do at a card show. I did great. When you do great, you like far exceed expectations. And I far exceeded expectations yesterday. The break says, wasn't the Chris Middleton 2012 Prism? It was first year Prism, which had like a huge premium. I don't know if it still does, but back in 2020 and 2021, it carried a huge premium. And I had a whole bunch from that year that I found. A lot of found money. Jenny says, I tried getting my LCS dealer to take home the 6 dime boxes I had, 4-row boxes at $20, all 2020 and newer, wouldn't bite, didn't want bulk. Holy, I would have taken that all day long. Would have taken that all day long. Love me some bulk. And at that price point, I mean, hell, the box itself is $5 to $10. Jenny says it was a good day, but a lot of bulk to move around. Took weeks to prep for the show. Going to stick to my niche of eBay and TCDB. Here, I will talk you off the ledge. I'll try to talk you off the ledge a little bit. When you're dealing with bulk boxes, here's the great thing. I don't know if you've done a show, if this was your first show or if this was just, new stuff or whatever. The great thing about doing bulk boxes is now you don't have to do it again. Now you just add, as you like, say you buy a collection or a bulk lot, you just add to those existing boxes. And yeah, you've got to carry them up and down or wherever to your car or truck, but they're already done. Like my bargain boxes, I'm just going to leave them in my car and take them to the Madison show. And in the meantime, I'll put together a couple more boxes. So you're not putting together, I had like 16 or 17 boxes, many of which I've been working on over the last couple months. Yeah, it was a lot of time, but now it's like done. And now I just for the next show, I just add 1 or 2 more boxes. So it gets easier. The first one's always tough. Like my first show when we started the show in April of 2021, God, it took me and I was sleeving all the cards. Now my quarter boxes, I'm not sleeving. if they're not already sleeved. And that, now I can use those penny sleeves for eBay and just other stuff. And I'm not spending the time. It's very time consuming penny sleeving all of that stuff. And I know some buyers, they can put more cards in those 100 count boxes and get more deals. And it's like, hey, cool. It's less work. I don't have to pay the half a penny per penny sleeve. So, say you can squeeze in 100 cards in that 100 count box. That's 50 cents saved on penny sleeves. Yeah, I'll give away an extra 20 cards. But to me, it's worth, that free 20 cards is worth the time I don't have to spend penny sleeving. Rich says so many different towns make those police cards that some are really tough, or what Bo just said. Yeah. The small town, I guess they're less printed. Victor, the rookie card specialist, what is up? Good morning to you. Card show table rentals, very cheap in my opinion. Today's prices is what I was paying in the early 2000s. Yeah, table prices vary from 25 to 50 for like a standard show. And then when you get to larger shows, our table prices, Midwest Premiere in Rockford, October 15th and 16th. It's a 2-day show, and there's going to be 250 tables. It's going to be an awesome show. Rockford, Illinois, October 15th and 16th. Table prices $75 per day per table. So I think for a 2-day show, 250 tables, hell of a deal. You look at like the Chicago Spectacular, it's 250 or less tables, and those tables are like 400. So significantly less. So yeah, table price, I think that's a great deal. $50 at my show, 2 for $80, that's $40 a table. Even if you're selling bargain box cards, and if you're priced right, you can make a good profit at a show. Jenny says, I'm used to shows where there's so many trades done among dealers at the end of the show. No one wanted to trade. Let's see, where are we at? Going long today, hour and 17 minutes. By the way, hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I appreciate it. Cooter says, speaking of schedules, you need to target which Dallas show you were going to make. You promised, and let us know so we can plan a Hobby Evolution meetup. Definitely. So it'll be next year. Now I don't know. So I promised before the whole house thing came up. So now I don't know when I'll have to. I don't know, whatever the schedule is. We'll see, because it's unlikely to be the first half of next year, because I'll do a spring training trip in March. And then, we'll be going through house renovations from January through May. So I don't know if I'll break away in the first half of next year. So it might have to be second half of 2023, just because of how things time out. So maybe we'll just have to do a Hobby Evolution meetup at the National, which that's definitely in my schedule for next year, since it's here in the Midwest. But yeah, Dallas is definitely on my bucket list. I will make it a point in 2023 to get to a Dallas card show. It just might not be until the second half of the year. TD Sports Cards, what is up? Good morning to you. Ken says, good chat today. I've been lurking for a half an hour. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Let's see. Jenny says, does Porter need those cool collector's binders for his PC? Randy says, do you have a website for the Midwest Premiere? I need all the details. There will be a website probably launched this week. So we will get that up this week. We're still like, we're in the development of getting all the socials created, the email and all that. So I'll definitely will let you know. I'll probably do a YouTube video special just to point you in the right direction for all those socials. And then obviously I'll mention it here on Hobby Evolution and my socials as well. Let's see. Zach and Porter says, playing catch up, so I missed the context. What are collector's binders? As Mom and I tell Porter often, he doesn't need anything. He may want things, but he doesn't need anything, but doesn't need them. Herman says, I'm working on cleaning up my eBay store in preparation for a changeover. Going to try my hand at hitting the quarter boxes for cards to list. Love it. Love it. Bo has binders, those cool card ones, not like generic Walmart ones for $5 each at the show. Has some left. Bet Porter would love them. Yeah, I do have, and I think the ones that I only sold 2 yesterday. They might have been the football ones. So I don't know. I'll have to look to see what I have left. But I do know I think I have some baseball ones. I think I have a couple that just say like Ultra Pro Collector's Album. But yeah, if anybody in here has any interest, let me know. Rich says, I would have looked at 1960s football for a quarter, and I would wager Cooter and Mr. Keating would as well. There's more, but wait, there's more. So yeah, reconstructed Bowman U-Wall. I'm looking forward to it. Like kind of the idea was like to sit and hold on them, but like now I'm excited for football season. And this goes along with my strategy back. And I think I have this written down and not erase it. No, I think I must have erased it, but I had my retail strategy. I started buying stuff. Like just, I'd go to Walmart or Target and I'd pick up a blaster here and there and just put on my shelf. And I've got a Don Russ basketball mega box. I've got an Illusions football mega box. I've got some like playoff football packs, overtime elite basketball. I've got 1 or 2 Bowman U basketball boxes. So I just bought, and I did that because it's like, hey, you know what? During football season, I'll enjoy ripping this. But hey, if there's a rookie that all of a sudden, you know, kind of like Mahomes, the Don Russ box is his rated rookie. 2017. It's like if there's anything said of that, it would make for a good flip. But if it doesn't make for a good flip, I'm still going to enjoy the rip. But if it's like hockey, like, no, I don't want hockey. So I wouldn't buy hockey. Bowman U football. It's like, I think there's potential that this could be a good flip, sealed, but now it's almost like I just want to rip it all because it's fun to open. And every once in a while, I thought I had more than 50 because I just bought 5 more. I received them this past week. And I thought I thought that put me over 50 unopened Bowman U football boxes. And when I reconstructed the wall, there's only 49. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to have to go buy more so I can get over 50 and then have a couple to rip here and there. But I plan on doing like a big rip on YouTube, maybe do 10 blasters like on opening night of football, August 27th after the that'll be a fun, like post Madison card show rip, just go live on YouTube and have some crappy Lafayette versus Florida State football game on. Cooter says, yesterday was the first time I ever stopped to look at non-vintage bargain boxes. In my opinion, with everything being shiny, special parallels, colors, and number, nothing is special. I think that's a risk. I do too. And now it's like when I'm very careful, buying bulk modern because it doesn't move as much. I have color in my eBay store at $1.50 free shipping that just doesn't move. But I can sell, and I think I was telling Michael this yesterday. Michael's one of my dealers in Madison, and he was walking the floor yesterday. We were talking, we had a great conversation, and, I mentioned to him, it's like, I've got these colors, and people like, in quarter boxes and even dollar boxes, people love the color. But it doesn't move on eBay for $1.50 shipped. But I can move 7 Brian Taylors for $1.50 each. I can sell 89 Topps Jose Canseco, and what I mentioned, 87 Topps baseball flies off my shelf. I moved a Ruben Sierra this week, 87 Topps Ruben Sierra, $1.50 shipped. And it's, some of that junk wax. It's like there's billions of cards, probably not billions. There's millions upon millions of 87 Topps out there, but they still sell on eBay. And maybe that because everybody just throws them in Goodwill, donates them to Goodwill, and keeps them hidden in a closet because I'm not going to put them in a quarter box. Nobody wants them. I'm definitely not spending the time to put them on eBay, but somebody will, and that somebody is me, and I'll sell them and be happy about it. Let's see. Paige and Dina Bean says, as John says, manufactured scarcity, definitely. Yes, but we should never let John know is right about anything. DR says, remember when you were a kid and knew all the sports statistics? Comps are the new stats. Bingo. Dan nailed it. I learned my multiplication table from football because I knew back in the day when an extra point was a given, I knew a touchdown was like an automatic 7 points. Yeah, pending the extra point. But I knew my multiplication. Okay, if I scored 6 touchdowns in a game on Tecmo Super Bowl, that's 42 points. That's how I learned multiplication, because I knew touchdowns were 7 points, and I knew if I scored 4 touchdowns, that's 28 points. If I scored 5 touchdowns, that's 35 points. That's how I learned multiplication. And I was doing that, 6, 7 years old. That's a great point. I knew, like, my friends would quiz me, like, who did Will Wolford play for? Buffalo Bills, center. Like, I knew all that stuff. That's a great point. I didn't even think about that. But I had that type of knowledge, not when it came to value, although I probably did, like, oh, this Kevin Moss 1990 Fleer, I'm 8 years old. Beckett, this is a Beckett price of $4, which I think actually was at one time a $4 card. Now it's $1.50 in my eBay store, and actually, though, I think I've sold out of my 90 Fleer Kevin Moss rookie cards. But yeah, Dan brings up an excellent point. Like, here I am amazed, but I was doing the same thing at his age, but it was reciting Beckett price. Okay, the 90 Fleer Kevin Moss books for $4. Sean Dunston is a minor star, so he's 8 cents. So yeah, that's a great point. JG says, all the dealers at the local show pulled all their Tatis, didn't even have a chance to buy. Craig says, as always, it's about building relationships, and you made the kid's day. I did the same with a Henry Ruggs rookie for $2. The kid left with a smile on his face, winning. Love it. That's what it's all about. Let's see. Brian Ginger Wisdom says, I'll take that deal. Heck yeah. Card Hobbyist says, spectacular is a great word. Want to spruce up the mundane? Add in the word spectacular. Not too often, though. It will lose its meaning. Card Hobbyist brings up a great point. I'm in search of racing binders with the graphics from the 80s, 90s. I will keep an eye on that, because a lot of the NASCAR that I get in the Goodwill pallets come in binders. Like a lot of the 94 action packed. So I'll see, and typically those. Actually, I've started keeping the binders since you mentioned you're interested. So otherwise, they just go in the bulk sales. So Northern Illinois Card Show, and I think there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm 90 minutes in, so I apologize for rambling today. There was one last thing that it was an observation. I happened to look down, just looking, and I noticed the way somebody was sorting cards. Let's see. Let's pull a pile out. This is a decent pile. So, and then I looked at, there were three people. So I had people at my table from 30 a.m. basically until the end of the show. So when I walked away, there were always people at my table, and it might have been just one guy digging through cards, but there was always somebody at my table like the entire day. So I'm just like, and usually I knew them or they were repeat customers, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to step away for a few minutes. You know where to find me. And in fact, when I went to buy this Ramley, I made a sale from across the room. A guy walked up, and I hate when this happens, but sometimes guy came up and he's like, hey, do you have the quarter boxes over by the stage? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, here's $1 for 4 cards. I'm like, oh, thank you. And sorry. So I started noticing, one guy was like looking at cards. Another guy was looking at them in a different way. And then there was a third guy at my table, and he was looking at them. And none of the 3 ways were how I sort cards. So here's how I pull out cards out of a bargain box. Let me see if I can try to. So I just do this. These are some 74 tops. Bobby Walton, good old punter for the Steelers. So this is how I look. Just kind of like, I don't know, is this the fan method? I don't know. This is how I sort cards. But I had somebody like, I can't even remember how they were. It was like this, and it was kind of weird. I mean, he was much more efficient than how I'm showing it, but it was different. And then I had a guy like kind of filing through. Now I do that, and I think that way is just the common way to kind of check the inventory. Is it worth my time? And that's actually the method I use when I start digging through a bargain box. Before I grab a pile, I'll start fingering through the rows and just, okay, let's see. And if there's like an 88 Topps Damon Berryhill in a 25-cent box, and then there's an 89 Donruss Eric Plunk, it's like, okay, this box is not for me. But if I find like a first Bowman or a Bowman purple, and I'm like, oh shoot, this box is loaded, then I'll sort the cards like I showed. So anyway, that was just something quirky I picked up, just kind of an observation. So I'm an hour and a half in. I've got some shipping to do. I actually had a great eBay day yesterday, which I have mentioned that Saturdays, when I do card shows, it's typically on a Saturday, and my card show Saturdays are really poor on eBay. But I had a great eBay day. So I've got a lot of shipping to do. So if you haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Thank you. We had a wonderful chat. Kept me talking for 90 minutes. Your ears are bleeding, so I'm going to go back at it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central for Hobby Evolution. Let's see. Schedule for this week, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. each day. No show on Saturday. Oh, wait. Am I doing a show on Saturday? I might not do a show on Saturday. That's kind of TBA because I'll be on my way to Chicago. I'll be for the weekend on Sunday. Definitely no show on Monday, and then back at it next Tuesday. So Monday through Friday, Saturday announced, no show Sunday, Monday, back at it. We'll go live for sure at the Club 400 Palooza next Sunday from the rooftop. So I'll probably go live just at the party just to show, hey, this is the party, here's the game. And then I'll probably go live in the post-game party when Patrick Wisdom and a to-be-announced second player and possibly some surprise players come up to the party. And I think tickets are still available. Go to Club 400, type it in Google, Club 400 Cubs Cave, and I think tickets are still available on the website. So with that said, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Have a great Sunday, and we'll chat tomorrow.